Hello. This is Alisia Young, and welcome to Teach Me Freedom. This podcast is about learning how to live a freer life from authors, entrepreneurs, and experts. Those who have done it and who teach others how to do it as well, and what it feels like while applying those methods to our lives along the way. Every episode will deliver resources, anecdotes, and/or reviews to support you in living a more freedom-filled life. Let's jump in. Please note the video version of this episode is available on YouTube at Teach Me Freedom. The link is also mentioned in the show notes. Enjoy. Welcome, Freedom Finders. Welcome to today's episode where we're going to be speaking with our guest expert, Jeff Smith, otherwise known as the KPI Guy. And as a quick introduction, Jeff Smith is an international keynote speaker, and he's a world-renowned expert in what we're going to be talking about, some more KPI, so key performance indicators. He is the #1 author in history on the topics of KPIs and business strategy. And also he is the writer of 7 international #1 bestsellers. And he's going to qualify that more for us because we know we've heard bestseller this and best this, best that. So he's going to qualify that more for us. Thank you so much for coming onto the show, Jeff. Very excited to meet you and to speak with you some more today.
Alisia, thank you so much. I'm so honored to be with you today. Thank you.
Awesome. So to kind of give you all kind of a frame of mind of what we're going to be talking about today. As you know, for this season, we're jumping into focusing on career. Some of you who listen to this show are either working on climbing the corporate ladder or working on building your business as an entrepreneur, or doing a combination of both. So we're going to be talking more about these things with Jeff. And one of the key topics, whenever we're working and striving towards achieving anything, is knowing what is relevant to be measuring and tracking so that we know we're on target. So how about we jump into this, Jeff?
Yeah, let's go right ahead, Alisia.
So first and foremost, what is KPI? What does key performance indicators stand for?
Well, you just gave the answer there. KPI means key performance indicators. So when I do training courses or conferences and things like that, I often see people's face go a little blank sometimes. So one can't assume that people know what KPI means, although it's a term that's thrown around quite a lot. I'm glad you've asked the question because particularly in the corporate life, some people are afraid to ask in case they come across as silly or stupid or something like that. And so they miss out on some vital part of education. So KPI, I've been given many versions over the years, but the official version is Key Performance Indicators. That's what it stands for. So what is a key performance indicator? I would say in its raw sense, you look at 2 pieces of information, put them together, and the output of that information raises a question on what's happening in a particular part of whatever it is that you're looking at. Now, that might not make sense yet, so let me get a little simpler for you. We all use key performance indicators throughout our lives, every day of our lives. For instance, when you jump into a motor car, you sit behind the steering wheel, and in front of you is a KPI dashboard. For instance, you have the miles per hour. So the miles per hour, your satellite navigation will calculate how far you'll get within a specific time. So if you take mathematical operator 1, speed, and distance, that will tell you how far you'll go in a specific time. So that's a key performance indicator. And then when you first get in the car and you think, I need to drive 200 miles. And then you think, how much fuel do I need for 200 miles? And then you calculate your fuel, you look at the fuel gauge and you say, okay, I need, 10 gallons or whatever. And you see that you've got 12 gallons. That fuel gauge is another key performance indicator to keep you informed about whether you have enough fuel for your journey. So having enough fuel, if you move that to the corporate business, you wouldn't have a fuel gauge, but you'd have the same thing on cash flow, for instance. So the fuel indicator might be, do you have enough working capital for the distance you're going to travel over the next month to fulfill what you need to spend money on? So key performance indicators are everywhere, absolutely everywhere.
Okay, thank you for that. And yeah, I'd really like to jump in and dig a little bit deeper there in terms of, I know that we were talking about when it comes to just the topic of career and some, like, for example, some people are really focused on climbing a corporate ladder and being very dedicated to a certain field, whereas there may be other people who are really focused on building a business, whether it's as a business owner or as an entrepreneur. And then there may be people who are mixing it up. So doing a combination of both of them. You can take a scenario of somebody who's trying to accomplish both. So they're trying to make their way up from entry level in an organization and develop their career. So they are looking for things such as being part of an excellent organization and developing their skills. So trying to become as future-proof as possible, trying to develop as much job security as they can, given the situation that job security is not actually a thing, and also wanting to speed up the process from going from entry level to whatever their desired position may be, whether it's higher level management or maybe middle level management, or maybe not even that, but just wanting to know that they are on track for climbing, and along that journey, knowing what key performance indicators they need to be tracking. What are the key performance indicators you would track if you're on that path, but also if you're working on building a business, exploring entrepreneurship? How do you know what's appropriate to measure?
Right. Let me paraphrase what I think you just said. So people join a corporate organization. I've been there, done that. I've climbed the corporate ladder. I got to the top of the corporate ladder only to realize it was leaning up the wrong wall. In other words, when I got there, I realized it wasn't what I wanted. But as I was climbing the ladder, I thought it was what I wanted. And I'll explain more about that in a moment. And then we've got the other side. I gave up the corporate life at the top and then set up my own business. So your goals, aspirations are different. However, the route to success is the same. And I can share some of those things with you. One of the other things you questioned is, which key performance indicators do we need? Now, let me reposition that, if I may. One of the most popular questions I get is, Jeff, what are the top 10 KPI? So you can say, what's the top 10 KPI for me as an entrepreneur? What's the top 10 KPI for me starting in business? What's the top 10 KPI as I'm halfway up the corporate ladder?
Yes, that's the question.
Yeah, I know.
That's what I was trying to ask, yes.
Yeah. There is no such thing as a generic top 10. There just isn't. Let me explain why. So, Alisia, in your life up to this point, you've had a number of experiences and you are the product of your experience. And you have learned things and you've implemented those things that have brought you to this position in your life. Now, whether you're aware of it or not, you've used a number of key performance indicators. Now, when someone writes a book or begins in a business, particularly writing a book, what I found myself, when I finished writing the book, I was a completely different person than I was at the beginning of the book. So the things that were important to me a year later were not the same things that were important to me a year ago. So putting this into your position now, you're a product of your life experiences to this point. In 5 years' time, you will have other experiences, other thoughts, and that you'll be having goals and aspirations for different things because you will have reached the goals that you have now. Maybe let's say you do. So then you have different goals. Therefore, you'll be moving in a different direction, and therefore you'll have different key performance indicators. So if you imagine a KPI dashboard, that's a collection of key performance indicators, let's say the top 10, for instance, is rather like a roadmap when you go on a journey. But when you change the destination, you have to change the roadmap. You can't use the same roadmap, otherwise you're just going to go to the same place.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you won't get to your new destination. So let's talk about this in a corporate context. Different people are at different stages of life experiences, different stages of their own personal development, and there's stuff they don't know that they don't know yet. So what's important to them now is one thing, and then you have to understand the development of the corporate organization that they're also working in, because you could be with a new organization or an old organization, one that has lots of systems and procedures or one that doesn't have any. And so it's about what's important to the person and what are you allowed and asked to deploy within the organization that you're in. So what it's about is understanding very clearly what is it that you want of yourself and what does the organization that's employing of you want from you. Once you know that, then you can devise your most important key performance indicators around those objectives. And a year later, what's important to you will be different because the economy changes, COVID happens, all kinds of things like that. So there is no top 10. And in fact, one of the things that, as a business strategist, I travel all over the world. I've worked with big organizations, and they say, Jeff, can you help me put together a KPI dashboard? Sure. I do that. I provide mentorship for them. And then I leave them alone. And then a couple of years or 3, they call me again and say, yeah, we need some more help. Can you come? Yes, I can come. Now, do you think their goals would be the same as when I left them?
They
No.
may have evolved. Yeah.
They were definitely evolved. So people change, employees change, the market changes, the products change. And what really frustrates me, Alisia, is I say, can I see a KPI dashboard? Yeah, sure. We use it every day. And you know, it's the same KPI dashboard that I gave them 3 years earlier. That's what frustrates me, because they've now changed direction, have changed people, but using the old roadmap. And then they wonder why they're not getting to their new destination. So the top 10 moves, it evolves. As you evolve, the KPI evolve with you, and you ask different questions. So let me just clarify one point here. A lot of people think key performance indicators are answers. They're not. They're questions. They're there for you to question the activities that are going on in the business. So they're effects in your life. And if you don't like the effects in your life, you have to change the causes. And what key performance indicators do, they gather the root and the cause information for you to question. So that might be, we have a product, our buying price is this, our selling price is that, and the key performance indicator might be our gross profit percentage is 33%, for instance. Now the question is, why is it 3%, 33%? Could it be better? Could it be worse? So you go back and what's our buying price? What's our selling price? If our selling price needs to be enhanced, then we start to question our sales process. We question our marketing and things like that. So you can't change a key performance indicator. You can only change the causes that feed into it. So it's about what is it that you want to achieve, particularly for yourself, and then what do you want to achieve in business? And they're just fantastic questions.
Wow, I love that. And it's really helpful for you to say that. And I really encourage listeners to really think about this for your life overall, but also where you are, like if you are choosing to work in a career or not. I know for myself, I'm thinking, like, as you're talking about this and you're talking about how people evolve. And a big thing for me right now is I went to school for a period of time and thought I focused on that, and I don't know if I'd say I climbed to the top, but I did the highest level of, or very close to the highest level of training. And I realized I don't want to continue this. And
Mm-hmm.
then I changed course. So in the season, we're talking about career. You know, back to school for a different career, working in a different field. But then other things have come to play that weren't part of the picture before, like now thinking of motherhood and marriage. And so how do these fit into working in a corporate place, age, all these things? And it's just like, so as you said, like things can change in 5 years and a longer period of time, a shorter period of time. So as you're saying this, I'm like, oh my goodness, yeah, there's things that are a lot more, have a higher level of importance, that are influencing the decisions being made and questions being asked. So really want to encourage listeners to think about that as well, as you're hearing what Jeff is sharing about KPIs.
Yeah, it's fascinating what you've just said. I just want to add something because you've had a big changes in your life with school. You got to the top and also found out you climbed this ladder, got to the top, and it's leaning against the wrong wall, right? And
Yeah.
then it's reboot, reset. Now, a number of things that happen is because we're told that school teaches you the right thing and university is the right thing to do. What I would say, whenever I finish a big speech, I always say, challenge the rules of conventional wisdom. Question everything. Think bigger about your business and think bigger about your life. Now, when I say challenge the rules of conventional wisdom, here's an interesting thing. When I was a youngster, I was interested in music. That's all I was interested in. School had no interest for me whatsoever. I would finish school, run home, and I used to be a keyboard player. Run home, throw my school bag into the corner, and just play music. I was only interested in music. Now, here's the thing. Through high school, I failed at English. I failed at mathematics. And here I am, the most successful author in the world, in history, who's written a book on mathematics. How on earth does that work?
How?
Yeah. So I'll share some of those secrets with you today. It's obviously not school.
Fascinating to hear that. And thank you for sharing that, because I know like sometimes people can be very attached to their experience before, and sometimes like when you fail courses, it can feel like a knock on your identity, and some people carry that with them throughout life and
Sure.
it prevents them. But you
Sure.
didn't carry that. You were still
Sure.
able to be successful in two areas that you failed according to whatever
Sure.
objectives are being measured in those in I guess in that sphere.
Sure. Well, one of the first questions I'm usually asked is, Jeff, which university did you go to? It's like, I didn't go to university. It's like, what? How come you've achieved so much and you didn't go to university? Here's my answer. I say, if Edison had an MBA, he would try to invent a bigger candle.
Be stuck in a certain line of
Yeah,
thinking.
you have to break the rules of conventional wisdom. And what I did, I studied for 40 years how successful people became successful, because they don't teach you that at school. They don't teach you that at university. And the corporate life, they don't teach you corporate life either. It's generic stuff about how they think business works. And what's interesting now, I work with universities. They call me in to put the reality side onto their degrees, because people finish university and the employers are saying, but these guys have now left university, but they're not ready for work.
Yeah.
And then so I get them ready for work to understand how to apply this stuff in the real world, which they can't do that at university. That's not their function. That's not what they do. And I think when you understand that, and then you understand where you are in life, your parents might want you to go to university, but if it's not right for you, some people still go.
Yeah.
And then, so I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm saying it wasn't right for me. I just was not interested at all. So I became a professional musician,
Oh,
climbed
so
the
you
ladder of
continued in that
success.
direction. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. I became a professional musician, really, really accomplished musician, and got there and decided this is actually not what I want to do. So twice I've climbed
Really?
to the top and found out. Yeah.
What was it about music and what was it about corporate when you reached the top? What was it about these things that you realized I don't want these things even though I thought I wanted them so badly?
Yeah. So music. I didn't choose music. My dad chose music. He wanted to play keyboards, and what happened? He was the manager of the largest machine shop in Europe. Really super intelligent guy, responsible for building big bridges around the world and all this stuff. But he didn't understand what success was about. I wouldn't say we were poor, because that's a state of mind. We were broke. That's a state of pocket. And I was thinking, how is it my dad had such a massive, massive job, but we had no money? And then other people had money. But he wanted to play keyboards, and we had homeschooling to teach him. And I used to sit, I'd be about 10 years old. I just used to sit on the stairs behind and look down and watch him with the teacher. And then when the teacher went, I went down, and then I could do it. 10-year-olds can do that, can't they? And my dad said, you carry on, because I've got all this stuff going on with work. I can't practice enough. You carry on and you have the lessons. And I said, okay. So I just did that. And of course, the drive is just to be better and better and better and better. And that's what I did. So music was never a passion of mine. And then for me, it's about mathematics. I likened it to playing a new piece of music to solving another Rubik cube. And once you understand the mathematics around it and how it's put together, I just fell out of love with music. I realized, so you learn to play a piece of music and it's fine. And then when you learn to play another piece of music, for me, it wasn't about the music, it was about the mathematics and the construction of the music.
Okay.
And how it's put together. And I just fell out of love with it. And then the other thing, here's what really happened. I got to 23 years old. And like you, I'm thinking, do I want to be settling down now? And as a musician, you're working and giving everybody else a good time. And they're having a good time, listening and dancing to your music and things like that. And then I would have a call. Hey, Jeff, this girl she really likes you. She's going to this party on Saturday night, and she wants you to come. I said, I can't. I've got a gig at a nightclub and it was that. And I thought, I don't want to do this for the rest of my life. Mm-hmm. So I just stopped. Yeah. Stopped, and I've not played since. And I used to play 10 hours a day.
Wow.
So I don't play at all now.
Do you miss it at all?
In a small sense. See, the thing is, playing music is like brushing your teeth. You have to do it every single day. Yeah, if you don't, you'll never master a musical instrument. Okay. And I used to play 8 to 10 hours a day. And then when you stop, you lose that professional polish. And when you can no longer be the person who you were and that skill and to play the stuff you used to play, it's like, well, what's the point? I can't do it anymore. So now, rather than be an okay player, rather than a great player, I thought I'd rather not play at all. So I didn't. Yeah, I didn't.
Okay. Yeah, I just lost that interest. And I guess because it would take extra effort to get back to the level that you want to be, and it just doesn't feel worth it to.
Yeah, and then I got married. I got a job in corporate life, and I just didn't have the time to dedicate to music anymore. Mm-hmm. So I still had a keyboard at that time, but I could only play perhaps an hour a day, and I was just losing the previous skills that I had, and not getting better. I mean, anybody would listen to it and go, wow, that's fantastic. I wish I could play like you. But to me, I was never as good as I was, so what's the point? So I just fell out of love with it.
Okay. I see. Thank you for talking about that with us, because I think it's something that oftentimes we don't think about. We don't think about falling out of love with something or starting to lose passion for something. And then I know sometimes we're encouraged, like, when you're so good at something, why not just keep going? Like you got to such a high level. Why let it go? Why let it go to waste? But you shared about, like, sometimes it's just, maybe you just know it's just time to let it go. Other things become higher priorities. Interest gets lost, and it's just doesn't feel worth it anymore.
You brought another dimension into. I'm going to share a graphic with you in a moment.
Okay.
And for me, it's life changing. And I hope for many of the listeners, it will also be. Because you have done what I have done. We've climbed this ladder thinking is what we want. And we get there only to discover it isn't. So that was music for me. So I want to share with you a diagram in a moment. And it's about finding our purpose in life. So I've studied successful people and what makes successful people successful. What do they do? What do they think? Those kind of things. And what I discovered is that they all do 11 things in common. So I formalize these things and I put them in some kind of order. So we have 11 steps to success.
Ooh,
Yeah. What's really interesting about it, once I'd formalized these 11 steps, and I did it as a youngster because I was working in nightclubs and I was a really good musician, I was exposed to famous people and some very wealthy people. So I had access to them. Mm-hmm. So I formally interviewed 325 millionaires and found out what did they do to become millionaires and multimillionaires. Because as a youngster, 18 years old, I attributed success to be wealth. Mm. And if you have $1 million, then you must be successful, right?
I thought the same.
No, no. But in the journey of success is, what do people do to become successful? Whether that's writing a book, being a successful entrepreneur, moving in the corporate world, or anything. So I got this formula, I applied it to my own life, and hey presto, the most successful author in the world who's written a book on mathematics, and it's a guy who's failed at maths and English. It works.
What a combination.
Yeah, sure.
Like the Twilight Zone.
Yeah, but then there's a question that comes before that, and it's because one of the first step to success, the first one, and 97% of people can't do this first step. So there's no point going on to the remaining 10. So the first step, are you ready?
You heard Jeff. Are you ready to hear the first step of the 11 steps to success? If so, be sure to tune in next week for part 2 of the conversation with Jeff Smith, the KPI guy, about the importance of KPIs and 11 steps to success, along with, surprise, some other places our conversation is going to go. See you then. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of the Teach Me Freedom podcast. We hope you enjoyed it and found it beneficial. Feel free to reach out to us at teachmefreedom2020@gmail.com. And if you haven't done so yet, subscribe to the show on your favorite platform for streaming content. Feel free to comment and leave a 4 or 5-star review if you feel so inclined. Connect with you next time.